All right, welcome everybody to the Radical Results Mastermind for Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. My name is Rob Goyette. I am almost living in Puerto Rico. I say almost because we're moving from Colorado Springs and just making the slow journey there. We're in St. Louis right now, Atlanta next month, but ultimately we'll land in Puerto Rico, and that's where I'll be leading these calls from. Quick history. I've been supporting leaders in the coaching niche since 2007. And in 2014, I decided to see if I could build my own list and create my own products and programs. And it was really successful. So I'm here to use all that experience to support you on these calls. This is the Radical Results Mastermind, and we meet for 3 times a month for up to 90 minutes. Right now, it's the first 3 Tuesdays of each month at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. But I'll tell you that in 2020, starting in January, we're going to meet an hour earlier. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up now that that is going to change. I'm hopping 2 to 3 time zones, depending on if it's daylight savings time or not. So we're going to meet an hour earlier for these calls. And again, if you can't make it live, it's no problem. Most people actually wait and listen to the replays. So when you get that replay email, it usually comes out 24 hours after the call. When you get that email, you can open up the PDF of the slides, scan through the slides, and see if the material serves you. So that can be a great way to use your time efficiently. But for those of you that are on the call, I really appreciate you being here. And it's today's a more crowded, in a good way, call than normal. We've got more participants on than we normally have. So I'm happy to see all you guys here. The announcements and replays. So you'll usually get an email the day before each call. I try to send it out 24 hours before the call with the link to join live. But then the day after the call, like I mentioned, you'll get the replay email that has the audio, the video, the transcript, and the slides. So you can attend live or wait for the replays, whatever works best for you. And I do love having you here live, so thank you for being here. I also want to mention that a lot of these calls do become products. They become courses. And so if you don't want to be part of the product, please keep yourself anonymous on this call, on the calls. We're using Zoom webinars, so it's pretty easy to stay anonymous. But if you type something in the chat, I might relay your question and say your first name. But I try to keep you guys pretty anonymous on these calls. But just please be aware that they may become products or courses. All right, so there's also another level of this mastermind called the Platinum Radical Results Mastermind Platinum. And right now the price is less than $197 a month. I am raising that price. And really it's because I've really increased the value of this program. It used to be 2 teaching calls a month, and what I've done is I've added a 3rd teaching call for all you guys, even if you're not in Platinum. But then the Platinum, we offer we have 3 hot seat coaching calls on Wednesdays, always at the same time as the teaching calls. But these hot seat coaching calls it's really a group coaching program. It's a way to get support directly from me and other members. And those are 60-minute calls on the first 3 Wednesdays of each month at the same time. So right now, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, but in 2020, they'll start an hour earlier. Also, another benefit to being in Platinum is that you get the call archives, those teaching call archives back to September of 2014. I've been doing this for a little while, and there's a lot of content out there. So if you like the way I talk or you like the way I teach, there's no shortage of great content going back to 2014. If you're not in Platinum yet and you'd like to join, you can go to getmyfreemonth.com and sign up for a free month. It'll let you know the price. I think I know what it is, but I don't want to say it on this call. Plus, I don't know when people are listening to the call. But if you go to getmyfreemonth.com, you can try it out for a month and see if you like those hot seat coaching calls and access to the archives. All right, so please get out a pen and paper or be on your computer and ready to take some notes, because today's topic is fast revenue copywriting. And what I mean by this is that basically in this course, in this set of 3 calls, I'm going to teach you how to build and nurture a big list, and then how to sell your stuff through email marketing to your list. I feel like I've been very successful with this by a lot of people's standards anyway. And I'm also, of course, I've helped clients with their email marketing. So I've got a really good system for building and nurturing an email list and then making offers to that list. So that's what we're going to be covering over these 3 calls. On the first call today, we're going to talk about how to build and nurture your list. On the second call, we're going to talk about how to package up and sell your programs. And then the third call, I'm actually going to take you through swipe copy examples and you'll get copies of this as well that you can use and modify to run your own campaigns. But we'll go through some proven copy. We'll talk about the psychology of why it works. And I'll also cover some stick strategies. Stick strategies is how you keep people from refunding your orders. So a lot of people struggle with that, and there's some good things you can do to help customers keep their order and get even better benefits. So we'll talk about that on the third call. All right, so here we are on the first call, build and nurture your list. This is what we're going to cover today. So the first thing is we want to really be clear on who you serve and how you serve them. Some of you may already be very clear on this. Maybe you've been doing it for years. Others of you may not be sure where to look or turn, or, like your stuff works for everyone. But I'll tell you that if you try to sell to everyone, that's probably going to be frustrating, because people like to feel special, right? So they want to know that you're talking to them and that you've got a solution for them. So we're going to talk about who to serve and how you'll serve them. And then we'll talk about lead magnets. A lead magnet, it's oftentimes a free report, but it can be lots of things, but it's how you get people onto your email list. And so you generally offer them a free report, they get the report, and then they get on your email list. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about traffic sources. I'll share with you my favorite traffic sources. My list right now is about 19,000, and it just keeps growing, which is great. So I'm going to teach you how to build your own big email list and where to find the people to get on your list so that you can nurture them and so that you can make offers to them. So we'll talk about traffic sources. We'll also talk about a nurture email sequence that I recommend, which is basically once people get on your list, what do you tell them and how do you keep them on your list? So we'll talk about nurture emails. Then I came up with a concept. I've never heard anybody else talk about it. Maybe people do it like by accident, but I've never heard anyone deliberately talk about it. I call it a deep nurture vehicle. And a deep nurture vehicle is a way to more deeply connect with the people on your list, because we all get too many emails, right? And so just getting your emails probably isn't enough anymore. It might work a little bit, but if you want it to work really, really well, then you need to more deeply nurture people. So we'll talk about that. And then at the end of the call, what I'd like to do is I call it takeaways and Q&As. If you're willing to speak up on the call, I'd love for you to, at the end of the call, not during the call, but at the end of the call, type in the chat and share with us your biggest takeaways. And then once we've done that, I'll switch it over to see if you have any questions about the material on the call or any questions in general. I'm happy to answer them. Okay, so let's get started. As far as who will you serve, right? It's critical to understand who you're going to serve. If you don't know who they are, it's tough to know how to get in front of them, right? And if your stuff works for everyone, again, that's okay, but people need to feel special. So if your stuff works for everyone, then maybe you'll want to build a business where you have lots of doorways into your business where the lead magnet applies to all the left-handed bowlers out there, for instance, or whatever, right? And so so I would start with one specific group of people. It doesn't have to be left-handed bowlers, but maybe you want to work with middle-aged women who are surviving divorce. That could be an example. My audience is actually I'm starting to branch out, just kind of like I'm talking to you about. But the main audience that I've used to build my business is coaches and small business owners, right? So, and I'm realizing that my stuff works in other areas, but if I had started just trying to be everything to everyone, I don't think I would have, I know that my business would not be as successful as it is today. So my current niche or audience is coaches and small business owners, and now I'm starting to branch out to other professional services. But yeah, you want to know who it is you want to work with. And if you're not sure who you want to work with, I'll give you a couple of ideas that might help you get some clarity. One idea is to work with people who are like you used to be. In other words, if your own stuff that you do for people or that you teach or that you coach, if it has helped you, then you may relate really, really well to people who could use that kind of help, right? So the bottom line is you want to be really relatable to your audience. So for instance, I used to work in a school district and I was in their IT department. I was the technology director, right? So I can relate really well to IT people, to technology people, and I can also relate to people who work in school districts. So if I was starting my business all over again, what I would probably do is focus on the audience that I know really well, which would be technology people inside school districts. I'd figure out what their biggest problem is. That's the next bullet point. But essentially, you want to find a group of people you can relate to. There's one other area that might speak to you, and that's that if you care about a certain audience, even if it's not your problem or you have not overcome that problem. For instance, I know there are several ADHD coaches out there who may not have the affliction themselves. Maybe they have a son or daughter who has it, and so it's meaningful to them, and they want to coach other people, coach other kids or young adults on how to deal with their ADHD. Now, but they can relate. They can relate to the ADHD people, or maybe they're relating to the parents, and in that case, it would be a similar problem that they've overcome. But the point is that, yeah, you want to really be clear about who it is you want to serve, who it is you want to work with. And the next thing to do is that second bullet point is to identify their biggest problem. And what I mean by this is a good way to think about this is what keeps them up at night or worried during the day. So like, I'm trying to think of a good example. There's symptoms and there are problems. And what we're really looking for here are the symptoms, the things that really bother the people, not the problem itself. Do not count on the fact that your audience is lying awake at night wishing they had more wealth or wishing that, they were super fit and healthy, right? So they might want that and they might need that. But what's causing them to lie awake at night might be sciatica, or it might be that they're in debt, or whatever the problem is that's really keeping them up and awake at night and worried during the day. That's what you want to try to help them with at first. Now you can then give them what they need after you give them what they want. You've probably heard that before. In fact, there's a metaphor that I first heard from Evan Pagan called the meat with the medicine. It's if a dog is sick and needs medicine, you don't just sit down with the dog and explain to the dog why it needs the medicine, right? The dog wouldn't understand you and may or may not take the medicine. But what the dog really wants is a big old piece of meat. And so if you put the medicine inside the meat, the dog eats the meat but also gets the medicine. So think about that with your audience. We want to start with giving them the meat, and then over time we can deliver and offer the medicine. So think about what their biggest problem is. And another sort of acid test for if you've got a good audience, I call it the 3 R's, is that your audience should be rich, reachable, and responsive. By rich, I don't mean like, more money than they know what to do with. What I mean is they can afford your services. So I've seen like market studies where it looked like BMX motorbiking was a great audience or niche to get into because these people are really passionate about riding their bicycles, right? Riding their BMX bikes. I think they're bicycles, maybe they're motorcycles. I don't even know. But the point is that a lot of them were under 18 and didn't even have a credit card. So they're not able to afford the services. So for instance, like in that ADHD example, you're probably marketing to the parents, not to their children, unless their children are old enough to have a credit card and and want support. So they need to be able to afford you, right? They need, and I'll try to give you another example too. And by the way, a lot of coaches, they just want to help people. They want to heal the world and make the world a better place. And oftentimes that means working with people who are in poverty. If that's your angle, that is great, but your audience can probably not afford your services. Therefore, you probably cannot stay in business very long. So one sort of hybrid approach is to find something that helps people, but it's not determined just by their ability to pay you. And in your marketing, share really good stuff so that the people who cannot afford you still benefit from the free stuff you give away in your marketing. And then, of course, the people who can afford you, you can help them get better and faster results without as much effort. So, but do keep in mind that people do need to be able to afford you, or else you're not going to stay in business. The second criteria is reachable. You have to be able to get in front of them. And we're going to talk about traffic, and we really want to scratch our heads and figure out, where does our audience hang out? How can I reach them? Correct? So yeah, we want to make sure we can get in front of them, that they're reachable. And then the last is that they're responsive. And what this really means is that they're passionate about getting a solution. And when I say passionate, I mean, what keeps them up at night or worried during the day. If you can say, hey, if you've got this problem, I've got your solution right here with my lead magnet, which we're going to talk about. Yeah, they'll respond to that because it's low risk, it's free, and it's offering them relief from their biggest problem. So they will most likely be very responsive to that. They may not be so responsive to some sort of proactive health plan or something that's not really bothering them, right? They might not respond to that. They might need that, but they might not respond to it. So that's why we want to go with wants instead of needs. We want to go with the meat instead of the medicine to first bring them into our world so we can give them that medicine. So those are the 3 R's, and hopefully this is giving you some clarity on who you're going to serve. The next question to ask is, how are you going to serve them? And so, if you've worked with this audience before, one of my tips, I call it big ahas, is think about people that you've helped in the past and some of the things you've shared with them where they said, aha, oh, wow, that's amazing. You're a genius. This is what I've been looking for. So if you have any of those references, pay attention to those because those might serve as an amazing lead magnet for you. Trying to think just off the top of my head about like an aha in my business. One aha a lot of people have is when I share with them the concept that what sells anything are 2 factors. It's trust and an irresistible offer. If either of those are missing or not good enough, people are not going to buy from you. But if both of those are in place, if they trust you and your offer is irresistible to them, they will buy. So, a lot of people give me that big aha. And so that's something that I could offer to my audience. I might not frame it as a free report saying, trust and an irresistible offer, that's how you make sales. I wouldn't say something like that, but I might create a report saying the 2 things that you absolutely must have to sell your products and programs. Something like that might catch their attention and scratch that itch of what's keeping them up at night is like they're worried about money, right? And they're worried that they can't sell their stuff. Nobody's buying. They don't have enough clients. So anyway, think about some big ahas that you might have had. That's one thing you can do. You can also, think about your expertise and how you got results yourself. And what I would recommend is that you create what I call a results model. What this can do is help you get really clear on what you do for your clients. It can also serve as a great roadmap to create a course or deliver VIP weekends. Or really, masterminds or group coaching or one-on-one coaching or laser coaching or video coaching, like however you want to get results for people. If you have a results model, the reason this is hyperlinked is I have one of my results models that I'm going to show you. So I'm clicking it now. I'm also going to take a sip of my drink. You can stare at this for a second if you like. But this is one way that I get results for clients. It's one of my results models. And I created this results model around my VIP weekend program that I offer. This is where I spend 3 days with someone and help them set up their perfect marketing funnel, right? And so having this results model gives me extreme clarity about what I'm going to do for someone on a VIP weekend, right? I'm going to help them confirm their niche, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? I help them create their results model, which is also kind of what we're doing here. I help them create their lead magnet and set up all the technology behind that so that they can create that free report in most cases and use it to build their email list. I help them set up their nurture sequence. I help them create their deep nurture vehicle. I help them with their automated webinar, help them with their email campaigns, and then help get traffic to go get the lead magnet or to go, in some cases, to their automated webinar. But this is my model for success when I'm spending 3 days with someone on a VIP weekend. What's interesting about this results model, though, is when I get a coaching client, guess what? We follow the same model. I've got a program that, guess what? Follows the same model. And so, you can build other programs around this model. If you spend some time creating a results model, you can use that to deliver your results in many different formats. And by the way, I've hired coaches, and I've actually got 2 coaches right now. One of them specializes in this, but I basically trained him in my model and said, hey, Bill, this is the model I want you to follow when you're coaching our clients. And so you can use it to train others in your organization. And really, it would be helpful for anyone on your team to understand how you work and how you get results for people. So I think it's a really smart idea to have a results model for how you get, I guess maybe I shouldn't have the word results 2 times in that second bullet point, but yeah, how to get a results model for your clients, right? The third thing is that you can identify resources that you can use or share with people. So, you can create your own, or you can find other resources out there to help people get results. This can be helpful. So it's kind of like tools in your tool belt, right? It's things that you can use to help people get results. It might be an online calculator. It might be a book you recommend, an article you've written or someone else has written. It might be a meditation or an exercise, but identify those resources that you can use to help people get results. That can be really helpful for you to get really clear on how you serve people. And then also, the more you do it, the more you'll spot these kind of things, but plans to troubleshoot. So that's how I came up with my whole trust and irresistible offer statement, is that I'd have clients and or even potential clients, and they'd say, hey, my stuff it's not selling. Why not? And I was able to figure out how to troubleshoot their marketing and tell them, either it's that people don't trust you. They either don't trust you as a person. They think you're going to run off with their credit card, or they don't trust that you can get them the results that they want. They think, yeah, you think you can help me with this, but nobody else has, so why should I believe you, right? So they either don't trust the person, or the offer is not irresistible enough. And sometimes it's just that the results are not worth the money. Usually that's not the case, but it can be. Other times, though, it's that the prospect just doesn't understand the offer, right? So the results might totally be worth the money, but they're not quite clear yet how it all works. And so anyway, so that's how I help troubleshoot my clients and my prospects when they say, I'm not getting the clients I want. It's real simple. I figured it out. It's either trust or an irresistible offer, or both. If both are in place, people will buy. So anyway, the point is on this main slide is figure out how you're going to get results for their clients. And again, what you really want to do is you want to solve their want or their pain or their, what keeps them up at night first, to bring them into your world, and then you can start offering them other stuff that might be more like the medicine and that whole meat with the medicine metaphor. All right, so we'll move on to your lead magnet. So the lead magnet is how we get people onto your email list. In other words, people go to, for instance, a web page and they see, oh, here's the solution you've been waiting for. And if you put in your name and email address, you can get that solution. So what happens is they put their name and email address in there, and then they are either immediately taken to that lead magnet, or they're told, hey, go check your email, and that's where the lead magnet will be. I like the second option better, because that after they opt in, we call it the thank you page that they see. Yeah, you can use that as an opportunity to help them move further through your funnel to take your next step. So what I'll sometimes do on the thank you pages for mine is I'll say, hey, thanks, your free report's on its way to your inbox. While you're waiting for it, why don't you go check out my webinar? And I'll try to move them actually several steps forward in my funnel to go see the webinar, and that can work. So as far as what your lead magnet should be, there are a couple of criteria, and they're the first 2 bullet points. First of all, the lead magnet should appear to be easy to consume. If you have a 26-chapter ebook and there's a picture of it and it looks really thick and like it's going to take 4 or 5 hours to read, that does not appear to be easy to consume. And so people kind of shut down. They don't want that. If you've got an 8-week e-course, again, that's 8 weeks until they get through the whole thing and finally get the solution. It's not easy to consume. It doesn't give them that instant gratification and let them just quickly get the answer. So you want to make it easy to consume. The other thing is to provide a complete thought or solution. If you're only giving them half of the answer, especially if they realize that up front, they're not going to be so happy with it, right? And so I would say that the first 2 chapters of an ebook are the exact opposite of these 2 bullet points. The first 2 chapters of an ebook does not appear to be easy to consume like a free report is. And the first 2 chapters is not a complete thought or solution. And so try to have your lead magnet be easy to consume and provide a complete solution. Now, and it doesn't have to be a free report. That's the most common, but you could have an MP3, you could have a meditation. I once, I forget the length of it. I think it was a 23-minute MP3 download on on the top 10 things you can do to blah, blah, blah. I don't remember what it was, but it worked really well. So it doesn't have to be a free report. It can be an audio, it can be a video, it can be a quiz, it can be an infographic. But the point is it needs to appear to be easy to consume, and it also needs to provide that complete thought or solution. So I'm going to take you to 3 of my lead magnets that are in my business to show you how they appear to be easy to consume and they provide a complete thought or solution. So here's the first one. It's located at thriveasacoach.com. I'm going to take another sip here. Okay, so at thriveasacoach.com, notice that the picture of the free report looks like it's just a few pages. When I first had these reports, these kinds of reports created, the guy sent me back a thick-looking ebook, and I said, no, 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 no. It needs to look like it's just a few pages long so that people don't shut down and say that looks like too much information. And by the way, if anybody wants the name of my designer, I'll say it on this call, but you can also reach out to me. But his name is Rav Singh. So you can actually just go to it's fiverr.com/Rav Singh, RAVSINGH. And for $5, you can order one of these. Just make sure you ask him to create a thin report cover for you, not an ebook cover. He'll know what you mean because I've had him do lots of these for my clients, but ask him to do a thin report cover for you, and you can get something created like this. All right, notice how the page is nice and clean and there's not a lot of extra text going on. And in the opt-in page, it's asking a question: are you ready to start living the coach lifestyle? And then here's the me trying to scratch the biggest itch, learn how to get more clients, which really translates to more money, right? But that's oftentimes what keeps, in this case, coaches awake at night or worried during the day is they don't have enough clients, and then while taking plenty of time off. So also if they feel like their to-do list is overwhelming, or or they're just always working and never able to enjoy that lifestyle they first bought into when they became a coach, this report's got some great stuff in there for them. I want to point out a couple other things. Number one is that I do have an active privacy policy, terms and conditions, and a contact us link. The reason for these is if you advertise on Facebook or Google or other pay-per-click services, that might be required. They might even shut you down if you don't have these things. So if you're using certain advertising, you might need to have these things, these links on here. I think in 1 or 2 of my other pages, I don't have these links because they weren't needed for what I'm doing. So anyway, but this one, I do sometimes drive Facebook ads to this page, and so I want to make sure it's compliant. The other thing is, if people click send my report, I'm using lead pages, by the way, for this solution, but you can use whatever you want. A lot of times I see coaches and business owners and professionals say, instead of saying, tell us where to send your free report, it says, enter your name and email below. If you say enter your name and email below, what that basically says is trade me your privacy for my free report, and people's defenses go up. But if you give them a better reason, hey, tell us where to send it, and then you let them put in their name and email, their defenses go down, because it's like, oh, that's why you need my name and email, is to tell you where you want to send my report. So I really like this language here, and think it probably increases the percentage of people who do fill out the form to get the free report. Okay, so let's go back and we'll look at a second example of a lead magnet. Okay, innovativecoachingmodels.com. Okay, so similar report cover, and this I don't know. This may not be as strong as it could be. Because it says my most successful coaching program ideas. If people don't know who I am, they might think they're not very successful. So I don't know, I may change that in the future, but it's okay, it works. So it's letting people know what they're gonna get, and then the call to action here, discover 4 coaching models that can grow your business. And same thing here, I guess I do have active links here, which is good. And if I click send my report, then it says tell us where to send your free report. So that's another example. You can also see this little Provely thing in the lower left. It's providing social proof that people are opting in for the report. So that's kind of cool. That's if you're interested in getting that, it's at provely.io, provely.io. If you like the idea of having that on your site, it can just help people say yes or opt in. So the third example is my 26-minute webinar script, right? So this is a different doorway into a different funnel. I teach automated webinars, and but you can see again, we've got the thin report cover here. I keep selling more of my course, and so I need to update this cover. It says this is the same script I used to sell 121,504 of a course, but that number is now up to it's higher even now, but last time I updated this page, it was up to 319,000. So I just kind of got to strike through here to address the inconsistency or incongruence between what's said on the graphic and what's here in the text. But, you know, basic question, do you want to sell using automated webinars? If so, use my proven webinar script for your next automated webinar. And then a little bit of proof here. It's sold this much of a course. Download the script, make it your own, and enjoy success. So this one, I didn't make these links live. Someday I will, but it's not a priority because I'm not really sending paid traffic there right now, like pay-per-click ads. But if I click Get Your Webinar Script, okay, so this could say tell us where to send your script. Instead, it says get my 26-minute webinar script, which I use to sell this. I think that's a little stronger, but again, it does kind of raise the trade me this for your privacy. I'm just not saying enter your name and email address below. So this is maybe kind of a hybrid thing. I should probably say tell us where to send, or tell me where to send your 26-minute webinar script, which I use to sell this. So I should probably change that. But anyway, sometimes, you know, stuff is good enough, right? Done is better than perfect. So, you know, make sure you don't spend too much time making everything super perfect and not getting started. Getting started is much better than not getting started. so okay, so those are 3 examples of lead magnet pages, and yeah, you can opt into any of those if you want to actually check out the lead magnets themselves. Usually it's a report that's maybe 5 to 10 pages, right? It's not a lot to consume, and it's a nice, big, easy to read print. I don't do a whole lot of graphics and branding in my reports. Some people do. It doesn't really matter as long as someone can read through the report and get the results you promise, right? And by the way, what's funny is it almost doesn't matter if people read your report or not. The goal of having this lead magnet is to get them on your email list. It's not to get them to read the report. Or to consume the lead magnet. Now, if they do, that's even better. That lets them get to know you and like you, and most importantly, trust you even more. But the real goal is to get people onto your email list so you can then nurture them and then deeply nurture them to make offers to them. So whether they read it or whether they put it on their desktop and intend to read it and never do, it almost doesn't matter. But I will say one other thing is about the lead magnet. At the end of your lead magnet, there should be a call to action. So at the end of my lead magnets, usually it's come to a webinar. That's like the next call to action, just like what might be on the thank you page when people opt in. So you want to tell people what to do next at the end of your lead magnet. As far as the technology you need to make this happen, really, if we're just talking about email marketing and we're not talking about having online courses and automated webinars and all that stuff, if we're really just talking about getting names and email addresses and selling to people, then what you really need is you need a website and you need an autoresponder. That's it. I guess you need a way to take payment also, and you can use PayPal and Stripe to do that pretty easily. But so, like, if you wanted to set this up for free, you could go to a free website hosting company. WordPress.com is probably what I'd recommend. You can create a free site at WordPress.com, and on that you can put your opt-in page and your thank you page and your form code for people to fill out. That comes with the autoresponder. So like MailChimp is a free or very inexpensive email autoresponder system that allows you to collect those names and emails, and they also provide you with the code to put on your website. So if if I was going to try to do this for free, I'd probably go to WordPress.com and create a site, and then I'd go sign up for a free MailChimp account and get the code. I'd put the code on the WordPress site, and then I would drive traffic to it. So there are fancier ways of doing this, and long term you should probably look at some of the fancier ways, but short term you could probably do it with WordPress.com and MailChimp, or a host of other solutions out there. You can go onto Google and find whatever speaks to you. There's Wix and Weebly and all these other ways to make free websites. As far as like the quote unquote proper way to do it, it's probably to have a shopping cart that not only acts as the autoresponder, but also allows you to process orders and put people into memberships and have affiliate links for tracking and all sorts of stuff. So, so what I use primarily is I use Lead Pages to create my website pages, and you can host those right on Lead Pages server, so you don't even have to have a website, but they also have a WordPress plugin. So I usually build a WordPress site, not with WordPress.com, that's a hosted solution, but I actually go into my web host, which I have Bluehost and HostGator, and I'll install WordPress on a domain I bought, and then I'll connect WordPress to Lead Pages. So that's technically what I'm doing to make my pages, and then I'll go into my autoresponder / shopping cart, which is called Simplero, and in Simplero I will generate form code for the right list and then put that code into Lead Pages, which will then show up on my website. So anyway, I don't know how well I've connected the dots there for you, but the point is you need to have a web page for people to go to see your offer, to see your free report or your lead magnet, and then a way to get them onto your list, which is generally by using an autoresponder or a shopping cart. By the way, if you're interested in using Lead Pages or in Simplero, the shopping cart system that I use, let me know before you sign up, because if you're willing to use my affiliate link, I'd love to help you set it up for free. That's kind of how I earn my affiliate commissions in many cases. So if you like the idea of using Lead Pages or Simplero, again, let me know before signing up, and I'd be happy to help you get signed up and help you get set up with those solutions. Okay, so that's the lead magnets. The next thing we'll talk about are traffic sources. Take another sip here of my drink. All right, so remember, we want to we want to identify who you want to work with and how you want to get them results, right? Who do you serve and how do you serve them? Once you know who they are, you need to get your lead magnet offer or some kind of offer in front of them. And so I've got a ton of traffic sources to use with you. I put what I felt were the most important ones on this slide, and then I'm going to rattle off a whole bunch of other ones for you. So if you're looking for ways to get people into your world, onto your list, I think you'll like this part. So the first thing is your own contacts. A lot of people overlook this, but I mean, you know people who probably belong on your email list and who should probably be doing business with you. And one of the easiest ways to go through and identify these people who might not come to mind but who are absolutely perfect prospects would be to go into your email software and go into your sent items folder. If you go into your sent items folder, instead of like looking through every email you've ever received, look at every email you've ever sent. Maybe go back 2 years or as long as you can, and it's a much smaller number. The number of emails you send versus the number of emails you receive, it's a much smaller list to start from. And if you've emailed somebody before, you probably have had at least a brief, if not really great relationship with them. So you can go through your sent items folder and start making a list of the people who might belong on your email list. And you can reach out to them and say, hey, I just created this free report on how to do this. If you'd like a copy, click here. Or depending on your relationship, you want to keep the rapport of your relationship with them. One little trick to that, by the way, is not to send them a fresh email, because they might not remember you. You might remember them and they don't remember you, but what you can do is reply to the last conversation you had with them, say something about that conversation to build a little connection and rapport, and then offer your free report or whatever it is you want to use as your lead magnet to get them on your list, or send them to your webinar, or ask them for a strategy session. I mean, you can do whatever you want with your contacts depending on how much they trust you and what kind of irresistible offer you might make them. Another source is referrals. Referrals are a great way to get clients and sell products and programs, right? In fact, I talk to a lot of people who say, I don't have an email list, but I've been running a very successful business all from referrals. The reason referrals work so well is because when someone refers a prospect to you, there's a transfer of trust and rapport, right? So if somebody refers you a client, that client already trusts you to a degree, and your job is to increase that level of trust, not destroy it, but to increase that level of trust and then make them an irresistible offer. So referrals can be great. And so somebody might say, oh yeah, you need to go get Rob's free report on the innovative coaching models if you're looking for more ways to make money in your coaching business. And you want to make it easy for people to refer you. So that's why I bought the domain innovativecoachingmodels.com. But yeah, you want to make it easy for people to refer you. And also, if you know that you're getting referrals, you want to thank the referral source and ideally even give them some details about how the referral went. You don't have to divulge private details about the client, but you might say, hey, I really appreciate you sending me Joe Smith. We're making great progress over here. Joe's really happy, something like that. So working with referrals can be a great traffic source. Another great traffic source is really a referral. It's a joint venture. And this is where someone with an audience refers their audience to you, refers the entire group of people. Usually it's someone with an email list sending out some emails on your behalf, but it could be somebody with a podcast. It could be somebody who owns a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group. It's really just someone with an audience recommending or introducing their audience to you, right? So joint ventures, that's how I built my list so quickly and so big, at least by my standards, is from joint ventures. So that's my absolute favorite way to get traffic to go get your free report or watch your webinar or just directly do business with you. I'm going to talk about giveaways next, because a lot of people think, well, I can't get joint venture partners because I don't have a list to reciprocate with. I've got a whole course on how to do joint ventures. If you're interested in that, let me know. But essentially, for joint ventures, you need to make it worth their while to promote you. You need to find out what would motivate them to promote me. And if you don't have a big list, that's okay, right? Because we all start off with no list, right? So the way that I was able to leverage a lot of joint venture promotions was not by having a big list to reciprocate with. I used friendship. I traded services. Okay, there's another way, but I don't think I use that one. But what you can do is if you've done business with someone, significant business with someone, you might say, hey, I've done a lot of business with you. Would you be open to sharing me with your audience? And I do that in reverse, in that, like, when someone hires me for a VIP week or a VIP weekend, I will actually offer to promote them to my audience if it's congruent. If it's not congruent, then I'm not going to do it. But if it's congruent, if their audience is also my audience, I'll say, hey, thanks for doing business with me. I'd love to promote you to my audience. I don't even have to wait for them to ask me. I'll just offer it because they've spent significant money with me. So anyway, the whole point is you want to find people with your ideal audience and figure out what would motivate them to promote you. Cash is another way. I recently gave someone $3,000 in cash to tell his Facebook group about me. And we tracked the results, and it generated $7,500 in cash. In cash, but in sales, which paid off that $3,000 in cash and left $4,500 in profit. Those are round numbers, but that's what happened. And actually, I'm still making sales to that audience even well after the promotion. So another traffic source, though, is giveaways. Now, this is my favorite strategy to recommend to people who don't have a list, because I don't know if you know what a giveaway is, at least the way that I'm using them and recommending them. But essentially, what you can do is reach out to your ideal JV partners and tell them, hey, I'm having this giveaway. It's got this theme. And by the way, your ideal JV partners, that means that they have the same list that you have or want to have. In other words, their audience is your ideal audience. So you reach out to them and say, would you like to contribute a gift to this giveaway I'm doing, and tell your audience about it? And if they're willing to do that, and you can find 10 or 15 great partners with big lists, and they all tell their lists about your giveaway, all those people come to your front door and have to opt in, have to put in their name and email address to get into the giveaway to go get those free gifts. So you get all the names and emails. When the people go through your front door and land on the giveaway page, they can then choose the gifts that they want the most. And that means that partners are going to get very targeted prospects who want exactly the types of solutions that they offer. So in one aspect, giveaways are a great list builder, and then they also let you network with those ideal JV partners. So if you have 10 or 15 JV partners who have participated in your giveaway, you now have a better relationship with them, and you can reach out to them and say, hey, maybe we should talk about cross-promoting each other in the future, and you'll have a big list by then, so it works really well. So giveaways are my favorite traffic strategy for people who do not have a list, much of a list. But joint ventures, once you do have a list, joint ventures might be a faster way to accomplish to really accomplish the same thing or even better and bigger results. So if you don't have a list, I'd highly suggest looking into running a giveaway. And I've got a program on giveaways also, but I think I've given you most of what you need there. Interviews, what I mean here is like podcast interviews. You can reach out to podcast hosts. Really, this is a form of joint venture. It's someone with an audience that's introducing you to their audience. But it's different enough that it maybe deserves its own bullet point. But podcast hosts are always looking for good material to share. In fact, that's a big stressor. That's what keeps them up at night and worried during the day is, how am I going to film my next podcast episode, right? So if you can show up and save the day and give great content, and you're an excellent guest, you really give good information that their audience wants to hear, and you're reliable and easy to work with, then yeah, I mean, you can go get interviewed on a bunch of podcasts. So that's another great traffic source. Another one is Facebook ads. What I like about Facebook ads is that they're highly targeted. You can get your ad in front of just about exactly the right person, right, or people. And so the nice thing about Facebook is it's fast and it's highly targeted. The disadvantages to Facebook ads are that it costs money. You have to pay your money up front, right? You don't know, you're not promised results. And in the case of a joint venture partner, you usually pay money in the form of commissions after the sale is made. With Facebook ads, you give them the money up front, and then you do not pay them a commission. So there's some risk there, some financial risk. The other thing is that the Facebook leads that come into your world are generally colder leads. They don't know you yet, and they don't trust you. If one of your Facebook friends signs up, sure, they know you and trust you, but with targeted Facebook ads, it's usually people who do not know you, and therefore they are colder leads, and it's usually a longer sales cycle. All right, I'm going to take a sip of my drink, and then I'm going to rattle off a whole bunch of other traffic sources. And at the end, when we do the takeaways and the Q&As, if you have questions about any of these, you can ask me for more information. Okay, so switching over to this list. Here we go. Let me see if you guys are still on the call or if that, yep, okay, cool. All right, so I'm just going to rattle through these real fast, and again, maybe jot down some of these if you have questions or think they might work well for you in your business. So Google AdWords, the thing I love about Google AdWords is it's like the Yellow Pages used to be. If people want something, they search Google for it, and your ad shows up saying, here it is. And so if people can't sleep at night and they type into Google, how do I fall asleep? And your ad says, hey, here's a 5-minute audio that'll put you right to sleep. Click here, and that's your lead magnet. You can get traffic from Google AdWords, from people searching for a solution and you offering it. YouTube ads, you can actually make videos, and you can target those videos to play in front of popular YouTube videos. Again, you want your audience, make sure it's congruent. But there's a little trick that if you want to kind of disqualify people up front, so you want to say something like, if this is not for you, please skip this ad, or make them want to click skip the ad, and that way you don't pay for it. But if somebody watches, I think it's the first 30 seconds of your YouTube video, then you do pay for that view. So you can actually, I think they call them in-stream ads, but you can actually run videos on YouTube, and a good strategy might be to find videos that are popular with your audience and get your video to show in front of that popular video and try to lure them away to your video, which then has your call to action. Another is solo ads. That's where you basically pay someone money to send emails or promote you to their audience. That's what I did with that $3,000 thing. It was to a Facebook group. Organic social networking and groups. So, networking with people on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff like that. And also maybe joining LinkedIn groups or joining Facebook groups can be a way to get traffic. Going to live events, either as an attendee or as a speaker. I was somewhere in the middle. I wasn't a speaker. I had a little bit of celebrity at an event, but I just wandered around the event and enrolled 10 clients in my laser coaching at a live event once. So, I mean, you can walk around a live event, shake hands, collect business cards, and build your list from that. ClickBank, JVZoo, and other affiliate networks. You may or may not know about these, and some of these have been around for a long time, but you can actually, for instance, put maybe a paid program instead of a free report up on ClickBank and pay like really high commissions. I think the maximum is 75% pay really high commissions on your product, and affiliates can find you and promote that to their audience. And then when people buy your product, yeah, they get 75%. They get most of the money if you set it up that way, but then you get the traffic, and it doesn't really cost much to do it. I think it's $50. And then you pay ClickBank fees and affiliate commissions, but that's after the sale is made. I don't know a lot about JV Zoo, but I've heard a lot of people talk it up quite a bit. I think I've bought things through there, so that can be another place to go to put stuff out to let other affiliates, other kind of JV partners promote your stuff. It's just, I don't call them JV. I don't really call it a JV network, because usually with a JV partner, you have a relationship. With affiliates, you guys don't really know each other. They might sign up for your program, but they don't really know you. So that's another way. Search engine optimization, SEO. There's internal and external ways to rise up on Google and other search engines. Internal ways are things you do to your site. External is basically getting links from other sites over to your site. Here's a fun one. You could probably spend at least an hour here, just fascinated like I am and like others have been. But you can actually rent mailing lists. You can rent physical addresses or even email addresses. You can rent a list, and you can really drill down and find the right audience. So I mean, you could put your service in front of a mailing list of people who have bought, like buyers, not just prospects, but people who have actually spent money on something in your niche, in your area. If you go to lists.nextmark.com, that's a real fun site to explore. And yeah, anyway, we can talk about it more if you guys have questions at the end. But article marketing, you can write articles and put them either on your own site for SEO reasons, or even put them on other sites of your partners to get traffic. You can run your own blog or show up as a guest blogger on someone else's blog, and it's kind of like putting an article on their site, but you're showing up in their blog. You can create an app, and usually the trick to that is, if you can create a popular app, you want people to register the app and get a gift, right? So it's kind of like, hey, register your app and you'll get this extra thing to make it even more valuable. Then they go to a site, put in their name and email, get on your list, and get their gift, get their lead magnet, your lead magnet. Kind of a sneaky one is called pay-per-view marketing, and there's a site called mediatraffic.com that's a pretty affordable way to do this. But we've all seen those pop-up ads that show up on our computers, and we hate them. What's really going on, the way those pop-up ads may have gotten onto your computer is that you downloaded some software and you agreed to the terms, and one of the terms was we can show pop-up ads. Well, you could be one of those pop-up ads. Some people like this, some people don't. But you can actually show pop-up ads based on what people have searched or what websites they go to. And if they've gone to a specific site, you can have your irresistible offers show up on their computer. Again, a lot of people hate pop-ups, and so it may be more negative than positive, but it is a solution. Another is direct mail. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of my drink. So direct mail, you could send out postcards, for instance, and that can be a great way, especially if you combine that with the Nextmark stuff here. So you can send out direct mail and encourage people to take an action, like go see your webinar or go get your lead magnet. You can run ads in the newspaper and in other media. I've got a client I'm actually getting ready to go see later this week, and he's had a lot of success running television ads. His stuff, it's a B2C, a business to consumer model, and he puts ads on television and people respond to his television ads. So he's made it work. He's made it profitable. In some markets, some niches, some markets, it may not be profitable, but it is a way to get traffic. You can also run ads in newspapers. I did hear once that a really smart thing to do if you're going to run like newspaper type ads is to put them in those thrifty nickel or penny saver type ads in rural areas of the country. And the reason why is that, like in a big city, those things they get picked up and glanced at and thrown away, and people move on to their busy lives. But out in the rural parts of the country, sometimes it'll sit around for weeks on the kitchen table or in the bathroom or whatever. And so there's a greater chance that your ad will be seen in one of those. So that might be an idea for you. You can also run ads on Craigslist and other services like that to get in front of the right people with your irresistible offer. Another technique I've seen work is writing a short ebook and putting it for sale on eBay for $1. The dollar, okay, maybe you'll make 90 cents after the fees or whatever it is, but it's a way to get leads. So you might put an irresistible ebook out on eBay. Video marketing. So there are so many things that we could talk about here, but I think what I meant when I wrote this was creating YouTube videos and wanting them to go viral. I've got friends who have had videos get millions of views because they're so interesting. And so Facebook videos or YouTube videos, you can make those, and just make sure your video has a call to action so that you can capture those people who liked your video and watched it. You can also make YouTube video responses. Now, I haven't ever done this, and when I studied it, I think things have changed by now, but it used to be that you could watch a popular YouTube video and then make your own response video to that, and it would be easy for people to watch. Now I think it's not quite as easy. It might not be hyperlinked or something like that, but you could say, hey, I really love this video, but there were 3 things missing, and so I went ahead and made a response video for it, and people can open up your video and see what you have to say. And it's a way to sort of encourage the traffic from the original video over to your video response, which again should have a call to action at the end, like maybe your lead magnet. You can reach out to people who already have successful YouTube channels or YouTube videos and ask them if you can, if they can plug or promote your stuff, or if you can have a link on their video. They have these things called, I think it's called, is it layover ads? It's something real similar to that if that's not what it is. But yeah, essentially you can show up as a hyperlink on top of their video, and you could actually pay them to do that for you. So advertising on popular YouTube videos or with YouTube video owners might be a way. Also group owners, just like the guy that I paid $3,000 to on Facebook. He owns a Facebook group and they're really responsive and it's my ideal audience. So I just paid him to recommend me to his audience or to introduce me to his audience. In this case, it was telling them about my webinar. But yeah, reach out to these people who have a captive audience and ask them if they would link to your lead magnet or your webinar or whatever call to action you want. Press releases. This can be a good way to let the media know about something exciting and newsworthy. It can help with SEO because you get those external links to your site, and it can also get you interviews. You can write testimonials for a product or a book. So sometimes people are thinking of buying something, and you could write a testimonial or a review of it, and maybe you have something that complements that thing they're considering buying. That might be an angle. Blogs, you can have your own blog, and I think I already said, I know. Okay, I talked about blogging and guest blogging up here. Blog commenting, right? So someone else might have a blog, a popular blog, and you can leave comments. And especially like during a product launch, sometimes people will have a launch blog where they drive all this traffic to the blog, and people post comments and questions and stuff like that, and you can comment on things. I actually ended up getting a high-paying client by commenting on someone's launch blog. This person, the guy holding the launch, shared a model for getting some results, and I improved what he said. I said I've done something similar, although I also did this and this and this. And somebody liked what I said so much, he said, hey, can we talk some more? We did, and he hired me. So that can be another way to get traffic. Another way is to get interviews through HARO. The HARO stands for Help a Reporter Out. The URL is helpareporter.com. It's a free service, and you can get, I think it's a daily email, it might even be twice a day, with opportunities to get interviewed. Now, a lot of them will not apply to you, but some of them will. And so people are oftentimes, with 1 or 2 day deadlines looking for someone to interview that's an expert on various topics. And if you're an expert on a topic they want to interview someone on, that can be a great way to get free exposure. Your email signature can ask people to do things. My email signature invites people to get a free month in my Radical Results Mastermind Platinum. But you could also have it go to your lead magnet. Get my free report on this. You can be a vendor on Fiverr or Elance. And so what I mean by that is that you can show up and deliver a great service. So like I mentioned RavSing earlier. right? So he gets a lot of business from me and other people on Fiverr doing graphic design. Well, if he created a course on how to do stuff in Photoshop or something like that, I'd probably be really interested. And so I'm not sure about the terms of service. He's probably not supposed to do that, and he doesn't. But I think if I was a Fiverr provider, I would probably include some kind of little call to action or commercial when I delivered someone's work. Same thing with Elance and some of these other outsourcing sites. Groupon, I don't know if this still works, but I saw it work really, really well several years back. But someone offered, basically it was a Groupon on a free coaching session. They offered X number of free coaching sessions on Groupon, and you could, maybe offer your free report or whatever. And by the way, there are lots of these daily deal sites, not just Groupon, but I mean, you could end up with a whole bunch of strategy calls or people getting your free report and then getting them on your email list, or even having that strategy call. But those daily deal sites can be a good way, or at least in the past have been a good way to get prospects and clients. Refer a friend scripts. So in fact, somebody just emailed me today, or actually I responded today. They emailed me a day or two ago, but about another one that I don't remember what the name of it is. I think it had the word Plex in it. But anyway, a refer a friend script basically says to someone who has just gotten your free report, it says, hey, thanks for downloading this. If you'd like to tell 3 friends, I'd love to give you this other gift. It's a viral way to get more people. So the people who get on your list, they are then given an incentive to tell their friends, and if a certain number of their friends get on your list, then they unlock a reward. So there are scripts that do that. The one that I'm currently exploring and have purchased is called UpViral. In the past, I've used one called Tell a Friend Pro, which is kind of technical and complicated, but it works. So a refer a friend script can be a great way to build your list, a great traffic source. Also, you can define your own 404 error page on your website. So if people try to go to a page on your site that does not exist, instead of just saying that page cannot be found or whatever the default message is, you can say, hey, sorry, couldn't find that page. If you don't have my free report yet, grab it here, and or here are some helpful things you can do. So you can use that 404 traffic if you find, especially if you go and look at your web statistics, you might find a lot of people get to your 404 error page, and if you're not using that, you can to get people to take an action you'd like them to take. You can also author a book. I don't know why I put this on last. Yeah, I mean, you can get significant traffic off authoring a book. One of my friends wrote Google AdWords for Dummies and got a ton of prospects and traffic. So depending on how popular your book is, it's to the right audience. They want your book, so you can have calls to action in your book to go get people on your email list. I think a great call to action on a book is to get the audio version for free by going to a certain page, and then your lead magnet is the audio version of your book. Okay, so I'm looking at my watch. We don't have a lot more time, but I've covered a ton of traffic sources with you. So, and I say we don't have a lot more time. We have, I guess, 27 minutes-ish. But I also want to take your questions. And I see some of you might have typed something in the chat, or at least Zoom was blinking at me, but I'm saving those for the end. So I'll get to those at the end. As far as nurture emails, so once people get your lead magnet, they get onto your email list. And yeah, sorry, if you guys can save your questions till the end, it just kind of distracts me. And I will answer your questions at the end, but just please hang on until then if you don't mind. But as far as nurture emails go, when people get on your list, you want to nurture them. You want to give them great content so that they stay on your email list, and later on they pay attention to your offers. So I've got this sequence here of nurture emails that I've created, which essentially it's when to email people, right? So I'm going to rattle off these numbers, but then I'll explain what they mean. So you email them on day 1, day 2, day 4, 6, 8, 15, 22, 29, 36, 43, I think it is. But essentially what you want to do is you want to email them a little more intensely at first, especially about the lead magnet they got. Usually it's a free report. So on day 1 and 2, you're saying, hey, here's the link to your free report. If you didn't get it yet, here's that link one more time. That's day 1 and 2. Day 4, you might tell them something really strongly directly related to the free report. Same thing with day 6 and day 8. You can start to go broad after that. Usually on day 8, though, I recommend giving a gift. That's the third bullet point on this slide here. But I think it's good to give them a valuable gift because it's going to be a week before they hear from you after that. So I recommend you email them a little more intensely at first, and then ultimately once a week. But there's a reason for this very specific sequence. If today is Tuesday, and that's day 1, then day 8 is also going to be Tuesday. That's when they get the gift. And then day 15 is also a Tuesday, and day 22 is also Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday is their day off, or for whatever reason they're a little more responsive on Tuesday than they might be another day of the week. It just gives you a little bit of edge as to delivering emails when people first, on the day that they signed up for your list. So that's what that means. So I recommend, no selling for 30 days, just give pure content. If you try to sell too quickly, people will unsubscribe and even get a little angry at you. But if you give them really great content, then they're much more likely to stay on your list and consider your offers. You can think of it kind of like being a relationship bank account, where every time you give content, you're depositing money into that bank account, and every time you sell to your audience, you're withdrawing money. A lot of people try to withdraw when there's not enough money in the account. So the goal of your nurture emails is to really give great content to people so that later on you can make offers to them and you have a little more permission to sell to them than when they first got on your list. I do like the idea of giving gifts. I try to every 4 weeks, so every 4th email in the weekly, when we get out to the weekly sequence, every 4th email I try to give some kind of gift with really high value. My audience loves that, and it makes them want to stay on my list. Another thing you might want to do with your nurture emails is encourage interaction. So one of the things that I do is sometimes in an email people get from me, I'll say, please reply to this email so that I know you got it. And a lot of people will, but one of the reasons for that, first of all, it's to encourage interaction. Second of all, though, is it tells their email software that my email was important. It was important enough to reply to, and it increases deliverability. So you might, toward the beginning of your nurture emails, especially maybe even day 1 when you're delivering the lead magnet, hey, quick favor, do you mind replying to this email to let me know you got my lead magnet? What that does is that tells their email software that that you are important and that your emails should get delivered. So that's kind of a smart little trick there. But you also just want to encourage interaction. It's okay if your list emails you. I get emails from my list all the time, and it's great because it's a way for them to get to know you and trust you even more when you're responding to them with email. I probably cranked through 15 emails from my list this morning, a little higher than normal, but it's just a short, quick response that I gave them. But it's nice because it lets people know that you actually read their emails and care about them, and and you can of course share some good stuff with them when you do. Okay. Let's move on to deep nurture vehicles, and then I think that's the last slide, and we'll be able to go to takeaways and Q&As. So deep nurture vehicles. Let me take a sip of my drink here, and then we'll talk about deep nurture vehicles. Okay, so for deep nurture vehicles, what I mean by this is that being on your email list alone is not enough. We all get too many emails, right? And so you've got to figure out a way to connect more deeply with your audience, because trust is the most important word in marketing. If the trust is not there, people will not buy. Remember I said you need trust and an irresistible offer? The deep nurture vehicle is what builds trust. It builds it at a deeper level than just being on your email list, right? And so there are several ways you can do this. The next 2 bullet points are my 2 favorite ways, and then there are some other ways. So that second bullet point says regular calls. So I've got my Radical Results Mastermind. This is how I connect more deeply with my audience than just being on my email list. And so one of the gifts I give my audience back in the nurture sequence is 3 free months in my Radical Results Mastermind. And it lets people get to know me at a deeper level than just being on my email list, right? And so by having these regular calls, people get to know me and trust me even more. Now there's a whole bunch of strategy behind the Radical Results Mastermind, and I've got a product on that if you're interested, blah, blah, blah. But essentially, for the context of what we're talking about here, by leading regular calls for your prospects, that can help them trust you more. And if you can kind of figure out a way for those calls to also serve your customers, that really works well too, because that way in one place you're taking care of prospects and customers, and when customers have questions about what they bought from you, the prospects get to hear how you treat the customers. So it works really, really well. Another deep nurture vehicle would be to have a Facebook group. Now, I do not do this. To me, I'm not that interested in running a Facebook group and being on Facebook all the time. But one of my peers, Susan Epstein, she and I built approximately the same size businesses in approximately the same time. Hers is actually a little bit bigger than mine, and she's got a larger team than I do. But she built her business using a Facebook group. So she would get people on her email list, but then quickly invite them into the Facebook group to go get their free gift, right? And if they didn't want to go into the Facebook group, they could still get their gift. But she would say, hey, it's waiting for you inside the Facebook group. Inside the Facebook group, she would share really good content with them to nurture the group as a whole. But she took it a step further, which was really smart. She would actually, anytime she felt like having quote unquote strategy sessions, she would see who in the group was online, because they'd all be friends with her or however you can tell. And then she'd start chatting with them saying, hey, tell me what brings you into this group. And people would say, oh, I'm here because I want to learn how to do this or that. And she might ask another question, and eventually she'd say, I'd like to learn more. Could we hop on a Zoom call real quick? And so, excuse me, most of the time she said that people were willing to get on a Zoom call right away rather than schedule one. Sometimes they'd schedule one. But most of the time anyway, people were willing to get on a Zoom call right then and there. And then on the Zoom call, she was a great active listener and recommended the right program for them. And she enrolled a whole bunch of clients that way. So that can be another great deep nurture vehicle as a Facebook group. Other ways, you can make videos for your audience and even just email them the links to those videos. You can have strategy calls. I talked to somebody recently. I can't remember who it was. He had kind of a small email list, but he told me he actually talks to every single person that he can who gets on his list to welcome them and really connect with them. And I thought, wow, that's commitment right there. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I have enough time in the day to do that. But this guy, that's what he did. So you can talk to the people who get on your list. Also in person, right? So depending on who your audience is, especially if they're local, maybe you host a meetup group, or maybe you invite them to a local event, or use the eVite software. I've never used that, but you can deeply nurture the people in your audience by meeting with them in person. That's another idea. Speaking of meetups, quick story to share that I thought was really cool. I guess I shouldn't say who or too much about it, but this guy, he held a meetup. I think it was at a secret location. It ended up being his house, but he held a meetup. And I think he actually charged people to attend. I might be wrong about that, but I think he may have charged people to attend. I'm not sure, but he definitely screened the people who came, and the people who did come, if I'm getting all the details right, he sold over $100,000 worth of his program to this group of people who came to his house. It was a mastermind, so it was a high-level, expensive program, but sold $100,000 from one meetup group of local people that came to his house, and he served wine and cheese and stuff like that, if I remember the details right. But I think he's done it twice, both times, bringing in over $100,000 from these two meetup groups. So in person, it's a great thing if your audience happens to live where you live. So those are some of the case studies to go along with those examples. And I think we're ready to move on to takeaways and Q&As. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start with your takeaways. These are really helpful to not only to yourself to reinforce what you got out of today's call, but also to other people on the call, and also to me, so I know if I'm teaching you the stuff that you want to learn, or if I'm talking about the stuff you want to hear. So if you would please, the chat is a little easier for me than the Q&A box, but you can use either one. But if you could enter in your takeaways, your biggest takeaways first, I'd really appreciate that for anyone who's willing to. And if you don't, then that's okay too. I'm going to go ahead and take a peek at some of these things. Some of what was typed in during the presentation. But I'd love it if you guys would use the chat box or the Q&A box even to type your biggest takeaways. Okay, so Rosemary says hi, and someone's letting me know they have to leave for another meeting. No problem. Okay, so Mary says one of her takeaways is focusing on the symptoms and not the underlying problem. Yeah, thanks, Mary. I see that all too often. I see oftentimes it's coaches say, I've got this solution and it'll help people, and I want to tell them, I've got the solution to what you need, but it's not what they want. And so, yeah, we want to draw them into our world by giving people what they want and then giving them what they need. So thank you, Mary. Rosalind says 30 days of valuable content before selling makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like that relationship bank account example where you got to deposit money before you can withdraw. I think that makes a lot of sense. So Jim says, takeaway, wow, Rob, your list of traffic, I just lost your list of traffic sources is fantastic. Love it. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. So Mary says, as a doctor, I can really relate. Hey, we're talking about symptoms and problems. Yes, thank you, Mary. Kaylin says, regular calls, AKA deep nurture vehicle, and how to sell in a group. Great example. Thank you, Kaylin. I appreciate that. Nancy says, hi, Rob. My takeaways are the many ideas you've suggested for lead magnets. Also, Rav Singh's name. It's hard to know where to start, and that helps. Thank you, Nancy. Susan says, lead magnet doable and complete thought. Cool. Thank you, Susan. Marilla says, yes, that scheduling of intro contacts was new to me. Good stuff. Okay. Thank you. I think I'm not sure I totally understand, Marilla. I just want to make sure. When you say scheduling of intro contacts, I think maybe you're talking about going into your sent items folder. I think that's what you're talking about. But I'm glad you got that from it. If you want to clarify, you can. But otherwise, yeah. Thank you, Marilla. I appreciate that. So Rosemary also says, thank you. Very helpful. Useful to think about different niches feeding into the same product. Yeah, it's cool. I would say try not to go wide before you go deep. Go deep and get it right and figure out for that particular audience before you start moving on to another audience. So Donna says, the deep nurture vehicles made a lot of sense. Thanks. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. Okay, and you know what? We've got about 13 minutes left. I want to make sure there's time to answer your questions. So you guys can start typing in any questions. I'll keep reading the takeaways as you're typing your questions. But also, if I do not get to your if you have a question and we don't get an answer today, reach out to me through email and I'd be happy to just respond directly. Okay, so let's see. Marilla says the initial contact schedule, day 1, day 2. Oh yeah, so the nurture sequence. Yeah, thank you, Marilla. I appreciate that. Yeah, that works really well. So Anand, I hope I'm saying that right, says, my who are executives, managers in IT who are unhappy with their day jobs. How can I zero in more on what's keeping them awake at night and stressing them out? Okay, so executives, managers in IT who are unhappy in their day jobs. Well, if you know that they're unhappy in their day jobs, you might want to offer them something that would make them happy. Sounds like they might be happy not being in that day job. That would be just a guess. But you can survey people too and find out what's most important to you. That's another way to kind of find out what keeps them up at night or worried during the day is to ask them, hey, what are your biggest challenges as an IT manager if you're unhappy in your job? What are the biggest challenges? Maybe it's stress management. Maybe it's time management. Maybe it's that they think they work with idiots and maybe they need a different work environment, or maybe they should be working from home, or I don't know what it is for them, but you can ask them for sure. And that might be a great thing to do, is create a survey. You can use something like SurveyMonkey and you could drive traffic to your survey, and you can also thank people for taking your survey with your lead magnet with a free gift, and that gives you a reason to get them on your email list as well. So Nancy says, I have a question. I've tried to use MailChimp but find it a little confusing. Can you recommend a solid tutorial for beginners to actually set up their email lists, setting up sequences, etc.? Thank you. Yeah, so Nancy, with MailChimp especially, it is so widely known and used that the answer to your question is probably just a YouTube search away. So you can search YouTube for a MailChimp tutorial or how to add MailChimp code to my website, or really you can probably put in quite a bit of detail just because so many people use MailChimp that it should be easy to find. If you cannot figure it out even after watching YouTube videos, you could certainly hire someone to help you. You could go out to a site like Fiverr.com, Fiverr, we talked about it earlier, and search for the word MailChimp, then sort by like the best reviews or the, I forget what they call it, but basically what you're looking for is the most highly rated, or the people who have had the best feedback as a provider, and those are people that are probably very trustworthy. You can see how they rate out of 5 stars and how many reviews they have, and you can ask them to help you with MailChimp. And for very, very little money, you can probably get your MailChimp set up and doing what you want. I will give you guys a strategy when reaching out and using a provider on Fiverr, or really this works in a lot of cases, is you might make them a video of what's on your screen so they can see exactly what you're trying to do. And so like Nancy, you could make a video of your screen, show where you're frustrated, and say, I just want this box on my site and I want it to say this, and you can show your site to them. So a way to share your screen like that by making videos is a free solution called Loom, L-O-O-M. Not Zoom, not with a Z, but Loom, L-O-O-M, loom.com. Yeah, that'll let you record screen videos. You can appear on camera or just let it record your screen. And you can then send those videos to people where you're trying to explain something and wish they could watch over your shoulder. So Anand says thank you. Nancy says thank you. All right, thank you guys. And let me see. I think I've answered all the questions. If you guys have any other questions or takeaways, I'd love to know them. Otherwise, we'll all add about 9 minutes to our day and wrap up early. But if you have any more questions, please just let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I'll give you guys just a couple more seconds. Okay, something came in. Oops, or maybe that was already came in. Let me see. Okay, so Nancy does have a question. So Marilla says, what's the difference between using a screenshot and Loom? Loom actually lets you make a video and talk into your microphone. So it's really like someone looking over your shoulder. That's why Loom is so great. Okay, so Nancy says, question, JVs, do you use a contract? I do not. I feel like a joint venture is built on trust, therefore no contract required. You certainly could have one, but really a contract to me just indicates lack of trust, and that's not what you want in a good joint venture partner. Marilla says, got it, thanks. All right, well, so Susan says how to best use my ebook. Yeah, since you want your lead magnet to appear to be easy to consume and also provide a complete thought or solution, you could do one of a couple of things, Susan. You could either get a graphic made of your ebook that makes it look really thin and easy to consume and even call it a report, and then it's longer than people thought it was. That's one idea. Another is to create a report based off of your ebook, use that as your lead magnet, and then in the nurture sequence, say, hey, you got my report. I'd love to give you the whole book for free. Click here to download it and give it as a gift. People would probably love that. All right, so thank you, everybody. So all the thank yous are coming in. Yep, you're welcome, Susan. You're welcome, Nancy. Welcome, Marilla. Yeah, thank you guys for your appreciation and for being on this call today. And I look forward to speaking with you in a week when we're going to talk about whatever I said we'd talk about then. Let me see if I can tell you what it was. Next week, packaging up your and selling your programs. Yeah, that's going to be a really good call. So I look forward to seeing you guys on the next call. And until then, have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.